Hi, everybody. Welcome to TNM Coaching Unplugged and Zoran and Interconnected podcast. I'm so grateful and happy for your hearts, for your souls, and for the people who show up week after week in this podcast, elevating your heart, elevating your mind, elevating your spirit to learn new things, to grow, to evolve, to activate, to develop yourself to the next level and to beyond what we think is possible. And today we're going to be branching into the spaces beyond what we think is possible for us, for our greatness as a human race. What are we capable of? What we can achieve? How can we realize our fullest potential is going to be one of the questions that I'm going to ask my guest today, who is absolutely phenomenal. You know, sometimes you go and you meet people along the way, and then you meet somebody special that really stands up for the new consciousness, new evolution, new humanity, new earth, and so on and so forth. And Dr. Samuel Lee, it's one of these amazing people that I'm so grateful to have on my podcast. He is a true pioneer in psychiatry, plant medicine, psychedelics, quantum morphogenetic physics, managed to do that. And he has had extensive training, 10 years plus in practicing Western psychiatry. And then he decided to challenge norms by cultivating the global paradigm of mental health rooted in unity, compassion, truth, and limitless potential of human consciousness. So he's somebody who is really shifting the paradigms. And we had people like this in the podcast before, people who are multidimensional, people who are operating on so many different levels. And he is one of these amazing human beings who has initiated himself to operate on so many different levels and beyond. So, Sam, glad to have you with me today. How are you doing?
Really good, Zoran. Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
So beautiful. So my first curious question to you is, how did you get into psychiatry? What was your journey? What kind of got you in there? Because sometimes what I realize, people who are really passionate about the evolution of humanity, who love human beingness, they get into therapy, into psychiatry, into coaching, into shamanism, into breathwork, because that's the entry point. So I'm curious about your entry point.
Yeah, I like to believe that there's a force, and it was my destiny in this lifetime to become a psychiatrist. When I was in medical school, I asked in the multitude of counselors or elders, there is wisdom. So in the third year of medical school in USA, you have to choose what specialty you want to go into in medical school. So I asked, a few of my elders, a few of the wisdom keepers, what do you see me as? And they all looked back at me and they said, we see you as a psychiatrist. And, I listened to my elders and, I really enjoyed my psychiatry rotation in medical school. I was fascinated by the human brain. I was fascinated by the truth of what was really happening in mental health conditions. And so it was almost like my destiny to become a psychiatrist. But little did I know that when I was going through medical school and I was going through residency, that I would actually experience every single psychiatric condition for myself. So I not only became a psychiatrist, I experienced every single psychiatric condition personally. And so I had to learn when I was talking to my patients and clients, it was not something I learned from a book. It was something coming directly from my experiential hologram. And I would speak to them from my heart and I would say, hey, listen, I've been there. And it developed and cultivated within me an authentic compassion. And when people have problems, they come to Los Angeles, California. And that's where I did my residency training at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, right in the middle there of West Hollywood. And so all of the world's problems were sitting across from me. And I was literally blending my field, electromagnetic fields, with the entire world's problems and learning how to cultivate compassion, as well as understanding, oh, wow, actually, we're more alike than we're different. And at this point in my life, I could sit around in a talking circle with, a billionaire, a prostitute, a homeless person, a religious pastor, and no matter what they say to me, I can honestly look at them and say, hey, me too. I've been in this frequency. I'm not different. And so there is this common thread, which connects me now to the entire world, which I cultivated by going through these psychiatric experiences and then becoming a psychiatrist and then realizing we are all one, we're all connected.
What a beautiful journey, that open up the deeper level of authentic compassion. And I love the language that you use, authentic compassion, really being able to feel other people instead of saying, I understand, or I understand what you're saying, but there is different level of relating, right? When we can really feel into what's really going on. And I'm sure that gave you a broader understanding of human nature. So what was the source when you were working with people from the Western medicine point of view? And were they able to treat the source? Were they ignoring the source of the issue? What did you discover?
Yeah, so, it was a fascinating journey into the world of Western medicine. The Western system largely is followed, the model of mental health is largely followed in most of the world. So I was learning about the geriatric system. What do they do with our elders when our parents get older? And I was attending physician at a geriatric center there in Hollywood. And then I was also working with the adults, sitting across from the adult and learning about the DSM-5, the psychiatrist Bible. When our children are sick, the psychiatrists have no time. They literally just look at this book, 5 out of 9 symptoms, 2 weeks, boom, this medication. And these medications actually don't treat the root cause. They actually sometimes, 70% of the time, they numb the frontal lobe, the spiritual sight, and they numb, if you want to say, the second chakra, the most powerful creative force on the planet. And I was learning directly, oh, wow, okay. And it does numb people long enough for them to survive in a sick society. But what I started realizing was it never treats the root cause. And not to mention what they're doing to our children and what medications they're putting on our children on. And it never treats the root cause. So personally, I was going through these experiences and I was noticing with my patients that the Western system was actually not cultivating a treatment that treats the root cause. And so I was learning that the Western system is in a way broken. And not only this, some of our children are being born with 4th, 5th, and 6th stranded DNA online, which means they can sense a wider range of frequency. And when they can sense a wider range of frequency, current society, their parents even don't understand that this child actually is a special child that has a gift with the invisible world. They can hear things other people can't hear. They can see things other people can't see. And in Western society, what they do with these children is they label them as schizophrenic, or they label them as bipolar, and they put them on mind-numbing medications, and they tell them that there's something wrong with them. And they numb down these gifts, when actually these gifts are meant to be here to serve humanity. And so in shamanic cultures, when these children say that, hey, I can hear these things, they understand that this child has a gift with the invisible world. And if they have a mentor who doesn't label them and a community that understands it, that doesn't label them and say that they're weird and put them on medications and put them into a hospital, the community embraces them, and through the mentor and the community, they learn how to navigate their gifts in the invisible world. And these children actually become the local town shaman and healer. And so I was walking around to these psychiatric inpatient hospitals where they lock up some of these children. And I was learning, oh my goodness, these children are actually here to help humanity. And we're numbing them down on medications and putting them in hospitals and locking them up. So I started developing this passion and compassion for the system, and I started praying for 7 years now for the liberation of all sentient beings and a new global paradigm of mental health, where our children can grow up with treatments that really treat the root cause and activate their limitless potential at a young age. Show me what I need to see, tell me what I need to do. And I would pump Kundalini for 2 hours and tickle my third eye and send this frequency out. And what started happening in my hologram was I started being introduced to different technologies, different healers, different modalities and tools that actually do treat the root cause. And these technologies are already here. So it's been a fascinating journey into Western psychiatry and then the Eastern side of medicine, and then now combining the two so that we can create kind of a new global paradigm of mental health.
And I'm so super grateful for you that you are holding that intention of us co-creating together the new paradigm of the mental wellness, because this is something that we really do need to understand together and step into. And I've heard in one of the podcasts that you said the bottom line issue when it comes to the mental unwellness or somebody having any issues is that we are identifying with our thoughts, or we're believing that we are what we're thinking. Basically, what the Western world says, you think, therefore you exist. We all know that statement. Is that true for you still?
Not at all. In fact, 99% of all psychiatric problems that I noticed working as a psychiatrist was people would walk into the office and they would identify with these frequencies known as thought, as if they were their thought. So if their thoughts would tell them something, they would believe that to be true, and that belief would drive that thought into a belief which would manifest in their hologram as mental disease. But thoughts in all reality in quantum morphogenetic physics are actually, it's a frequency. Think about little clouds of frequency. And you can't see them, but some spiritual masters can, because it's a different angular rotational particle spin. It's a different spin. So we can't necessarily see it, but it's a little cloud of frequency. And so, and so when we hang on to these thoughts and identify with these thoughts, then these thoughts becomes beliefs, right? And it becomes ingrained. But actually, what the Buddha learned and what we can all learn is how the mind will follow the breath, or the breath will follow the mind. And so when Buddha sat under the tree and wrapped the thought, the frequency in awareness, let it go, and he come back to his breath, eventually you will learn, I am not my thought. Thoughts come and go. Experiences come and go. Feelings come and go. But who is the one feeling? Who is the one thinking? The eternal I am presence, the witness, the observer, the consciousness. That is who I am. And when I identify with that, then I can observe my thoughts, I can observe my feelings, I can observe my experiences. And instead of identifying with my thoughts, I'm just experiencing. And this is the difference. And this is what I realize is, no, I am not my thoughts. I am so much more. I am eternal consciousness. I am the witness. I am the observer.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing when we get into that space of knowing that on a deeper level, that we're not our thoughts, that we don't identify, we can disidentify with our thoughts, we can let them go. And I love how you said that you're wrapping them and you're releasing them, wrapping them and releasing them, right? So what happens to us when we transcend into that state, when we do understand, and not only intellectually, but also physically, emotionally, spiritually, that we're not our thoughts? Where do we go from there?
Yeah. So from there, when we can quiet the mind through the breath, then we can start connecting with what quantum morphogenetic physics calls your superconscious mind, your fourth, fifth, and sixth stranded DNA, also known as your soul, which is a bandwidth of frequency. So the fourth DNA strand is a bandwidth of frequency. The heart chakra, the bandwidth of frequency, is a portal into this. The fifth chakra, the throat chakra, blue, is the fifth DNA strand, which is part of the superconscious mind. The sixth, the pituitary gland, right? So this bandwidth of frequency, when we quiet the mind through the breath, we can start connecting to our intuition. And if it's not a voice, it's not a thought, it's a direct cellular knowing, a direct cognition. It has information beyond space or time. It only has our highest evolutionary potential in mind. And when we can connect through this part of us, if we learn how to listen to the intuition, we can never go wrong in life, because it knows before it happens. But it's not a thought. It's a still, quiet, direct knowing, a cellular knowing, right? And so then we can start embodying. The more time we spend with that, we can start bringing the frequencies of the fourth, fifth, and sixth, the soul, into the mind, which administers that frequency into the body. We can slowly start, gradually, naturally embodying the soul, embodying the superconscious mind, embodying our multidimensional self. And then there's layers to this. Then we can go to our 7th, 8th, 9th stranded DNA, the oversoul. And this is the natural birthright of humanity. This was the original design of humanity. So I think the quieting the mind is the first step so that we can start connecting with our soul.
And I love that, quieting the mind, but at the same time, sometimes people want to disregard the mind. And I usually say the mind is a beautiful instrument. It's a tool. We love having mind. It's not about losing mind. It's not about letting go of the mind. It's not about, diminishing the mind or criticizing. It's quieting down, so we become like a still lake. And then the mind can be at service to our heart or soul, to other aspects of ourselves that can govern, instead of us being governed by mind. And we know both that in Western societies, we all suffer from our mind governing us at this moment in time, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and like it's a beautiful, amazing tool. But a lot of scientists believe the mind is consciousness. This is false. Actually, consciousness is all that is, and the consciousness is what formulates the mind. And the mind is there as a record of the past to administer the frequency of the soul. This was the original design of the mind, right? And so we're coming back into this knowledge. The mind is an amazing tool, but the doing comes from being. And so when we're just being, then the mind, the brainwaves, the universe communicates with us through our brainwaves, can drop into alpha brainwaves. From doing, when we're doing, we're in a rush. It's in beta, I have to go. We're living off a record of the past. The mind is running the show. We're just constantly going to loop the same pattern. But when we drop into alpha brainwaves, calm breath, calm mind, then the brainwaves drop into alpha brainwave. And in this state, then the superconscious mind can drop in an idea. Okay, we're going to build a healing center. Okay. Then the mind the doing can come from, I was being and I received the download. Now I can go to work to do. The doing comes from being. And now the mind goes to work in this beautiful, amazing tool. I can draw from all the record of the past, everything that I've learned, not only this life, but past life, and apply it to the creation that I want to create. And this is why most of the time our best ideas come when we are driving, when we're in alpha brain waves, when our mind shuts off, when we're in the shower, all of a sudden our mind shuts off and we get the idea, right? So it has to do with the brain waves. But the mind is an amazing tool, but it is not the master. The soul is the master, and the mind gets to play and follow through with the actions of the directives of the soul.
So Sam, when this inspiration comes, when we're able to quiet our mind through breath work, through a beautiful example that you gave us, and we get in relationship with our soul, and then inspiration comes, intuition comes, and knowing comes, as you said, now the doingness comes from beingness. I would love to do this because my beingness tells me. A lot of the time I have people who are at that stage, but then they don't really know how to activate their creative powers and the creative potential. It's like as if they say, I know what I would love to do from my beingness, but how do I create this? I also witness that sometimes people don't have enough faith in themselves that they do have creative powers, like literally creating the reality from that point of view. So what would you say on that? How can we empower people with a tool, a technique, with the knowing, with an inspiration, that now when that deep inspiration comes forward, that there is a method that we can practice to be able to really see this in reality, to manifest it, to create it. You see what I'm asking you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think the first step before we even actually do it is to believe that you can do it. You have to believe in yourself. And oftentimes this comes from as young children. We were programmed indirectly by our parents and through society that we're not worthy. We're not worthy of this, everything that we want. We're not worthy of becoming everything that we desire to be. And so I always say the first step is to reprogram the subconscious mind to the truth, which is that you are limitless, which is that we do deserve everything we desire. which is that you are capable of anything, of creating anything. And this is the truth. And so right before we go to sleep, there's this magic time where our brain drops into theta brainwaves, where we're half awake, half asleep, in between worlds. The app store to the iPhone at that moment is wide open. We're very, the subconscious mind is open. We're very suggestible. So through practices like yoga nidra, or through practices like reprogramming your subconscious mind, or theta healing, and then right when you wake up, right when you're half awake, half asleep, that's my favorite time of the day. You're in between worlds. Your subconscious mind is wide open. The app store to your brain is wide open. So you can start programming into there, I'm worthy. And by the time we're 35, 95% of everything we do is subconscious mind programming. And so when we continuously do 30 days or so, 21 days to make a habit, we continuously program into our brain, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy of everything, I'm worthy of everything I desire. Then when we get this idea, right, we know that we are worthy, we know that we are capable, the subconscious mind has been programmed. And so not only do we know it, and then at that point, what I always say is, there's a few steps. Number 2 is just two steps to make sure that you can achieve anything in life. Number 1 is to hold a steady intention. I'm going to build this healing center. And if I hold this frequency consistently, intention is a magnetic frequency that exists between matter, that is radiating 5 to 15 feet from my heart. If I hold this intention and I don't give up, it will literally, like a magnetic frequency, attract to me the right person, the right tool, the right podcast, the right feature, the right technology at the right time, if I hold this steady intention. And so through intention, I can receive one step at a time. And the problem is that most people, they will receive something, and the next step is you just got to do it. You got to take that step. You just got to do it. Like so many people, they don't do it. Just take one step every day, 2 steps every day. Every morning when you wake up, hold that intention and say, okay, what are my next 2, 3 steps? Practically speaking, that I can do. I need to make this phone call. I need to write this email bit. And you just take the step. And if you hold the steady intention, everything you need will start becoming attracted to you. The problem is that a lot of people give up when they hit a roadblock. When they hit a roadblock, they think that this roadblock, it means that I'm not supposed to do this. No, that's not what it means. The roadblock is it's there on purpose. It's a lesson. It's a blessing. It's an opportunity to learn something. If I kept doing it this way, it's not going to work later. There's something I have to learn here. And if I take a step back and I look at the situation and I don't give up and I breathe, okay, there's a new strategy that I can adopt here, right? I need to make a few changes here. And I don't give up and I continue to hold this steady intention from the original idea that the soul gave me, and I continue to move forward. And I hit another roadblock. I don't give up. I would take a step back, breathe, calm my mind, connect with my soul. Okay, what's a good solution for this? I had to learn this lesson. I had to learn this character. I had to learn patience. I take a step back. This person actually wasn't the right person for this role. And I continue to move forward 2 steps every day, 2 actions every day. And I don't give up and I hold the steady intention. Everyone will achieve what they want to achieve eventually. This is the limitless nature. But if I don't act on that download from my soul, I have a choice. I don't have to accept it. If I don't accept it, though, that idea is going to be given to someone else.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. I've witnessed this in my life, but sometimes when you don't accept it, that goes to somebody else. It's great because somebody else can manifest and create this. But I love what you're saying about creation, which is the key for myself. It's consistency, being able to show up, being able not to give up, being able to continuously listen to your soul, not being able to be disengaged with the roadblocks and challenges, because I think those, as you said, those are the learning lessons, but somehow we believe the creation should be effortless and instantaneous. There is this belief that if it's not instantaneous, we can instantaneously create it when we fully activate our dormant DNA, we can talk about it, but we're not there yet. And it can be completely and totally effortless. And I don't think that we're there yet, right? So we do have to learn the lessons and struggle a little bit and wrestle with life, correct?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's how we all begin, right? And it's through this effort that we develop perseverance, and perseverance develops character. And character is the reason that we're here on earth. And to co-create is why we're here on earth. It's a blessing opportunity. And so that through the effort, doing hard shit with people that you love, there's a reward that comes from that. There's a beauty. And if you didn't put in this effort, there would be no reward. And so, for example, like building a podcast, it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of, energy that you put in. But there's also the amount of energy you put in is also the reward that you receive, the beautiful comments that you're helping people, right? So this is the beauty, but eventually you can reach a place. I don't call it effortless because that's not the right word, but where you realize the goal is the journey. The journey is the goal. And that the process, the joy is in the process. Yes, it requires discipline, but it's a joy to exercise this discipline. It's an honor to be alive here on earth. It is, so that it becomes this, it's effortless, but it's discipline, but it's joy, all combined. And there's like this beautiful kind of synergy that we can find sometimes.
And the reason why I'm asking all these kind of questions about creation, which I think is super important, is that I am witnessing that we are at the very important transition right now when it comes to where we are on this planet and what kind of planet do we want to co-create? What is the new Earth? What is our next creation? And I also feel that it's super important for us not only to observe that creation and to comment, oh, this needs to happen or that needs to happen, in order for us to move to the new Earth of harmony, love, unity consciousness, unconditional acceptance, and so on and so forth, that we know this needs to happen, but at the same time, we are not doing active steps in contribution to how do we need to show up in life to co-create this reality. So for me, I think it's super important that people who are listening, especially if they clued into any creative processes in their life or creating the bigger reality for this planet, that we do activate our creative abilities. So with that in mind, Sam, what's going on with planet Earth right now from your perspective? Yeah. Where are we? And what the heck is going on with all of us?
Sure. Yeah, great question. For me personally, there's never been a greater time to be alive. Out of all of the lifetimes, this lifetime and this time is the one I feel, and many other colleagues and light workers believe this is the one. This is that transition period where it's a very important inflection point for humanity right now. And so we're exiting a 26,500 year cycle. The universe is mathematical and time is not real. Time is simultaneous. So there's no time, only consciousness moving through different densities. But on this particular, what we call time, the Earth is exiting a 26,500 year cycle, and we're entering into a new cycle. There was a 26,000 year, 500, where dark ages, where a lot of humanity was cut off from its soul. Mother Earth for a long time was cut off from its multidimensional Tara, Gaia, its 5D, 7D self. And so we went through this forgetting period, but now we're sitting this period, and the Schumann resonance, or the heartbeat, the core frequency of Mother Earth, we can measure this. Scientists can measure the core frequency, the heartbeat of Mother Earth is increasing. We're on a return cycle to source, which means that we're exiting one age and we're entering the age of Aquarius, the golden age. The Native Americans saw this time, the time of great peace. But how we co-create it is up to us, because it's collective consciousness that determines the frequency of Mother Earth, the core frequency of Mother Earth. We're all connected to Mother Earth. And so we're all co-creating this reality together. Now, where we're exiting one age and we're remembering, reconnecting to nature, to each other, and reactivating our connection with our fourth and sixth DNA, our soul, our super conscious mind. And we're remembering we're multidimensional. We're remembering that, we are connected to the plants. And it's very important, what I call a most epic love story. We're exiting one age, entering into another age. The Schumann resonance is increasing. And what does higher frequency do? As the core frequency of Mother Earth increases, everything on Earth, the birds, animals, humans, will also, in correspondence, increase frequency. And a higher frequency, all it does is light exposes darkness. Mm-hmm. So everybody's higher self is going to come online eventually. And they're going to have a choice to abide by systems, because light exposes darkness, systems that are outdated, that are based on fear, false evidence appearing real, a hierarchy, that are based on, greed, that are based on utilizing Mother Earth's resources, and so people are going to become aware of it. And then we're going to start forming new systems, new people, or new decentralized systems of finance, of spirituality, of love. You don't need a middleman between you and God. You don't need a middleman. And so we're going to start forming these new systems, and people's higher selves that come online, they're going to have a choice, because free will choice, the greatest gift ever given to humanity. There's no force in source. For there to be love, there has to be a choice. And so free will choice, as people start seeing the human resonance increases, light exposes different systems, people will choose. No, I'm going to choose to continue to abide by dense systems. Systems that consume energy to create energy. And eventually, for those people over a long period of time, the mathematics of the earth says that if you consume energy to create energy, eventually you're going to run out of energy.
Exactly.
And you're going to, quote unquote, die, but you're also going to return to source through a black hole space dust return with no incarnational memory of your existence. And it's still sacred. Space dust is still sacred, still part of source. But then there's going to be those people who start oscillating, embodying their soul, higher frequency, embodying their oversoul, embodying their avatar crystal self, eventually embodying their primal light and primal sound field. And this is what we call an ascended master, someone who has embodied their primal light and sound field. In the beginning, God said, sound, let there be light, and there was light. Sound, light, and then from there, the 15-dimensional universal time matrix we live in, they embody this. They return to source as source wholeness. And now these ascended, quote unquote, masters can utilize this space dust to create new universes and new galaxies, and the cycle continues to expand. So at the end of the day, it's not that serious, because all things flow from source. All things return to source. All things are now bathing in source. All separation from source is but an illusion. And now humanity gets to choose. We're in this very important cycle of time where we're going to get to choose. And so, yeah, it's a joy to just wake as many people up as possible so that they can have a choice.
And is it from the point of view of choosing that we have this tipping point of collective consciousness, that if enough of us chooses, let's say the positive timeline, or the timeline when we can co-create the new earth, new reality, it's just described for us with a beautiful vision that will happen. Is it the percentage? Do we need a certain number of people, or is the individual choice? What is your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, according to quantum morphogenetic physics, there is a tipping point. A tipping point frequency. This many percent of people need to hold and embody their 4.5 strand DNA. But there's also a physics to it, like love, what people call love. So the cohesive power of the universe. And because there's a silver cord, whether people are aware of it or not, all spiritual traditions understand there's a silver cord, a 12th dimensional Mahara cord that ties each person, like imagine like a tail coming out of the spine, to the core of Mother Earth. We're connected to Earth when we decided to come to Earth. And so our core frequency is connected to the core frequency of Mother Earth. And so the more of us, especially on high frequency grid points, that's why a lot of us are seeing these hubs, cities of light, decentralized systems, healing centers, whatever you want to call them, on high frequency grid points where the ley lines of Mother Earth intersect. The ley lines of Mother Earth is like the brain of Mother Earth. It's like what carries the electromagnetic frequencies of Mother Earth. Now, Mother Earth also underneath the Earth has these giant crystals. Crystals are transducers of energy, just like we have crystals in our pineal gland, as above, so below. And so when we create these hubs, these decentralized systems on these high frequency grid points, right, and then we come together in a group, energy equals mass times, not speed of light squared, sorry, Einstein, but consciousness squared, right? So 12 people on these high frequency grid points, all channeling in, like doing sacred ceremony, channeling in very high frequency. 12 squared is 144. And you have 144 centers around the earth, all simultaneously with councils of 12, channeling in this very high frequency on electromagnetic ley lines with frequencies underneath the earth, right? And you're lifting the frequency of Mother Earth. when you do this and you can reach a tipping point where the frequency of the brain of Mother Earth reaches a tipping point, and you can do what is called a massive timeline shift into what Jesus prophesied, New Jerusalem. Bob Marley sang about Zion. Eckhart Tolle wrote about New Jerusalem, right? And because when you tune into your soul or your spirit, your oversoul, your consciousness, remember there's no time, only consciousness moving through different densities. You can move your consciousness to a time where Earth is a new Earth. And that's what all these great chiefs, and they were all writing about this time. And so I believe, and that if enough of us can embody this frequency, and then collectively do these meditations and lift the frequency of Mother Earth, it's quantum morphogenetic physics that we can shift into a new time.
That's music to my ears. It's music, a lot of ears. You know why? Because there's so many beautiful, gifted, loving, amazing souls currently present on this earth that are not aware of this conversation. There's so many people who have good hearts, good minds, wonderful presence that don't even know this exists. And somehow they tune into the media that keeps on saying to them that life is bad, that we are facing another catastrophe, that we're facing the war, that we're facing this, we're facing that. So, for me, this is such an important conversation, because how can we get the mass consciousness, the collective consciousness, to tune out from something that is not serving them, to tune in into what we really need to know? Because you also mentioned beautifully in our previous conversations that the attention is the new currency, right? Tell me a little bit more about that. Why do we believe that this attention is the new currency?
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm so happy that you brought this up, because, whoever controls the media controls the flow of information, controls the sound waves, the radio wave, the tell-lie vision waves. And so I have a tremendous amount of compassion for these. There's actually, I believe that everybody at a certain layer, is good. They have a soul. Everybody. But because of the frequency that people are tuning into, where they're putting their attention, where you put attention, energy goes and it grows. It flows, it grows. And so the 5 companies own 90% of the media right now, and literally from them, they can control the educational system, the financial system, the healthcare system, the television system, the media, and whoever controls the media. When these frequencies come in, literally, and our parents, who are our uncles, whatever, literally the frequency is literally coming into the mind, and the mind is administering this frequency, and it's literally, this frequency is becoming their reality, their hologram. And they've proven that they can shut down the earth in 2 weeks. Whoever controls the media, right? So attention is the currency. And so it's going to be very, very important. And in the ceremonies I facilitate, I've started to realize, though, that Source has a plan. Source has a plan for Hollywood, because Hollywood reaches, billions of people. Source has a plan for the government. Source has a plan for our financial system. Source has a plan, because I get to facilitate, and I listen, yeah? And so it's going to be important to actually create these decentralized systems, number one. But number two is, we need the attention of the people to be able to shift their attention into these new systems. But the first step is, if you want to change the world, change yourself. So it's really important right now to be able to reconnect people. And I have a tremendous amount of compassion, because I was there. I experienced major depression 4 times. I experienced, because it's not necessarily their fault. The frequencies, whoever's controlling, sending frequencies on the electromagnetic ley line of Mother Earth, controlling these sacred places and sending the frequencies they want to send, is literally sending reverse frequencies. And so a lot of humanity for a long time, even though when they're trying to have a positive thought, the electromagnetic brain of Mother Earth is sending reversed frequencies, because 5 companies control this. And so when they send reverse frequencies, our children are trying to have positive thought, but they actually have a negative thought, because the frequency that they're living on is reversed. And so literally, and then through the radio waves, they're, numbers are words, which are mathematical. They're sending these frequencies, in many different ways. And so when our children or our uncle are trying to have positive thoughts, they have negative thoughts. And then they come to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist labels them with schizophrenia, and puts them on medications and locks them up in a hospital. So I was witnessing all of these things, and I understand very intricately how this system works. So then from there, it's like, okay, well, whatever you fight, you become. Attention is the currency. What you judge becomes the shadow. So it's like, okay, well, the step number one is, I think the best tool is, you want to change the world, change yourself. I have to heal myself. But number two is like, now we have these technologies to reconnect people consistently, safely to their soul. And once they connect to their superconscious mind, their multidimensional self, once you know, you cannot not know. Oh my goodness, I'm a multidimensional person. And then from there, we can get the attention of the masses and then shift into these new centers. So there's the plan.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that download. That was really, really, really powerful. So, and my last question, because we're kind of getting close to the completion of this podcast, you mentioned a few times that it's very important for us to work on ourselves. And one of the journeys into this is an awakening to our dormant DNA. You mentioned the fifth-stranded DNA that we need to activate and to awaken this inside of ourselves in order for us to be able to have a connection to our soul, oversoul, our multidimensional self, our avatar self, and beyond, our higher self as well. And you said, when we have this connection, we know, right? So that means if I have this knowing and I'm watching television, I would know to discern, I would know to feel what is right frequency, what is wrong frequency, and I will be able to make choices and decisions based on my internal guidance, basically. And that means I'm nearly awakened, and then I can become an active member and contribute to the awakening and co-creation of the new earth. So how do we awaken this? How do we get this sleeping dormant DNA, which is disconnected for any reason? We don't need to get into that. If people want to know more about that, they can go to your platform, and there is a wonderful podcast that you recorded yourself, and you really explain what happened, how it happened, gave us the story that people can choose to believe and not believe, but it's a great story. I love it. I was listening to this, I was like, this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense. And I knew that was reality for me. So we don't need to go into that. How did it happen? It happened. But then how do we activate that? How do we, what do we need to do? How do we need to be in order for us to get this dormant DNA, this sleeping DNA, to get into the full power and for us to get into our full consciousness once again?
Yeah. I think it starts with, first of all, intention, right? And I have a lot of love and respect for people who I call truth seekers. And it's a choice. When someone says, and they can literally verbalize it, I want to know the truth. God, if you're there. It can be as simple as, God, if you're there. I want to know. Show me. Tell me. And really, you're talking to, what 4th, 5th, and 6th stranded DNA is your soul. 7th, 8th, 9th stranded DNA is your oversoul, what people call archangels. 10th, 11th, 12th stranded DNA is your avatar, inner Christ itself. You are who you've been looking for. And so when you start communicating with your DNA through your intention, through your words, I want to know the truth of who I really am. And I am committed and open-minded enough to investigate what you bring into my field. Just with this intention and with these words, right? Then you have communicated to your higher self permission for it to wake you up. Okay. And so just with the intention and the word, this is great. Yeah. And so then you'll be set literally tools, right? And for every step of your awakening, there will be a different tool, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's ayahuasca journey. But what I always say is, if you doubt that you are a multidimensional self, what I say is, I invite you to one of my ceremonies. The best tool I've ever found in a safe, consistent, ceremonial, protected fashion, it literally connects you to your multi-dimensional self and sometimes even beyond. And once you know, you cannot not know. You will literally feel your multi-dimensional self. And so your experience, don't listen to a word I say, your experience, once you experience it, then you'll know it, right? And once you know, you cannot not know. So I always say, start with your intention, start with your words, and just be open-minded. Say, I want to know the truth, because the truth will set us free, and we are free indeed. And that's all the soul wants, is to be free. And freedom is our birthright. So, what I would always say is like intend, and speak that speak it, give your higher self permission, and just watch. Like, you will be connected to the right tool, or whatever, the podcast or the technology or whatever it is that you need to awaken.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that you also mentioned your protocol, which is the heart protocol, and we can talk about it and we can reference it in the description of this podcast. I know that you're traveling around the world and you are, teaching people, you're being in the ceremonies, you're initiating people. So whoever listens to this, if you're curious, we can also disclose your dates and traveling schedule. I know that you're coming to Europe very soon. And this is also something very special for us to experience your presence here as well. So we will reference all of this for people who are like, wow, I am challenged. I want to believe this, but I need to experience it, because sometimes the experiential journey actually speaks louder than words, because you and I can talk to people for a long time. Their frequency, but experience is experience, right? So once when you, as you said, once when you know it, you cannot not know it any longer because you know it.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So as a very last thing, now we're recording in March 2024, and I usually ask people who come to this podcast, kind of not a very challenging question, but it is also like a question that it comes out of the blue through my intuition. And what I wanted to ask you is following. Sometimes people get into the stage when the entire community is listening. So what I would love you to imagine at this moment in time as the guest of this podcast, that you are at the stage when the entire community is listening. Sometimes people imagine United Nations, even though I don't think that's a good forum, or they imagine being the concert that is broadcasted across the world. But there is a moment in your life, Samuel, that you can deliver your message at this moment, at this juncture, and the entire humanity is listening. So what would you say to humanity today? I'm not talking about future, past, right now, at this moment, the entire humanity is listening. What will be a message to humanity?
Yeah, I would probably sing them this short song. Amor, 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 amor. Es el evangelio en una palabra. Ama tu prójimo como te mismo. Amor, amor, amor. Love, 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 love. The whole gospel, the good news in one word. Love your neighbor as you would love yourself. Love, 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 love. You're all one. Yeah.
Mm. All right, we're listening. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Frequency sharing. Thank you so much. What to say, Samuel? Thank you for coming to this podcast. I hope this is one of the many recordings we're going to do together. Thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you so much for your warrior soul. Thank you so much for your consciousness and for your presence. My soul was deeply touched. I know everybody's going to be touched with this podcast. We covered a lot of things, and I invite people to listen again. Because sometimes when we invite you to leap beyond what you think is familiar, beyond what you know it's possible, beyond yourself, into the space of newness, it's good for us to listen again and to listen once more time and one more time. And then, as I always say, and Samuel says is the same, take what serves you and let go what doesn't serve you any longer. Because we all have our own journeys, we have our own truths, and sometimes it's good to discern what gives me energy, what do I believe, what feels right for me. So thank you so much, Sam, for joining our podcast today. It was joy and
It's an honor.
with you.
Yeah, joy and a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Zoran. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And for everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be one of many beautiful conversations we have on our channel. Share it, like it, send it to your friends. If you feel like, oh my God, my friend needs to know about this. Oh my God, I need to share this with my relative, with my loved ones. Do that, because that's how this podcast grows as well, through you sharing and loving everything that we do. Lots of love to everybody, blessings, and we'll see each other very soon. Once again, Sam, thank you.
Peace. Thank you, brother.